Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for High Velocity Radio.
Welcome to the High Velocity Radio Show, where we celebrate top performers producing better results in less time. Stone Payton here with you this morning. This is going to be a good one, gang. Please join me in welcoming to the broadcast CEO with PDS Optical, Mr. Sean Lewson. How are you, man?
Stone, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on here. It's an honor.
Well, it's a delight to have you on the broadcast. I got a ton of questions, Sean. I know we're probably not gonna get to them all, but I think a great place to start would be if you could paint for me and our listeners kind of an overview, mission, purpose. What is it that you and your team are really out there trying to do for folks, man?
We've got a great mission at PDS Optical. I talk about it with our team over and over. Our mission is to provide high quality, affordable prescription eyewear to our veterans each and every day. And so we're in the business of providing prescription eyewear. We do a lot of business with the Veterans Affairs, and so veterans across the country. As I'm talking to my people, I'm always trying to emphasize our mission and just try to put that front and center. What's unique is at PDS, it's funny. I talked about the P, the D, and the S. I remember talking to one of my lab directors when I first started, and I was like, "Hey, do you know what the P, the D, and the S stand for?" And he's like, "I'm sorry, I don't." And I was like, "All right, that's fine. We can change that. That's a great way to fix that." And so it goes with our values there. We take pride in the work that we do. We have respect for the dignity of our veterans that we serve, and we have a commitment to exceptional service. So it's really unique that it's in our name there, and we're proud of what we do each and every day. We get to help veterans see more clearly. So it's a great mission.
Well, that is so much more insightful, robust, and inspiring than what crossed my mind when you mentioned it. I was thinking pretty darn special.
Well, I think that's what my lab director may have said at the time. And so it's, but it's great that we have that in our name. And we did a whole rebranding. I think over the past 2 years, our name prior was PDS Consultants, which doesn't really ring optical. I remember I joked, we think we would send stuff sometimes to the VA hospitals and they would get stuck in the wrong corner because they wouldn't send it to the optical shops. You're like, who's PDS Consultant? So we did a rebrand and just had to reemphasize the P, the D, and the S, and then our mission of what we're doing each and every day. And we're proud of that.
So tell us a little bit about your personal backstory. My instincts are it wasn't a straight path. Often it's not. How'd you find yourself in this role, man?
Yeah, it's sort of a winding path here to where I'm at today. But I'm a military veteran myself. I'm an Army West Point graduate. Graduated in early 2002, and so commissioned as an infantry officer. Had a great time in the military. Did a tour in Iraq, served in Alaska with the Stryker brigade there. And so I was at a crossroads in my military career. I was fortunate to get hired for Special Forces. I went to a selection course. There's more steps after that. So it was either continue on in the military or get out. And I ended up opting to get out and then found myself in working for a Fortune 500 insurance company in Manhattan. Ended up working there for a little bit and then moved up to Rochester, New York, where I live today. Was supposed to be a short stint, but I met a girl there, and that girl is my wife today, and we've got 4 beautiful young girls. And so I was with my prior company for 15 years. Great experiences there. Sales, leadership roles there. And then, so my father, kind of jumping around here, my father ended up, an uncle started up PDS. Actually, my uncle started up PDS late 90s, 1998, I think. And I say uncle, it's in parentheses. He's really not a blood relative. He's just my dad's best friend growing up from Brooklyn. It's one of those type of relationships there, Stone. So Rich Murray is his name. Started it up back in late 90s, and kind of grew from one contract slowly with eyeglasses, and then to 2 to 3, And then fast forward to 2019, they ended up acquiring a lab where they were subcontracting out, and it kind of grew and got bigger and bigger. And at that point, my father and Rich were in their early 70s. Were looking to, find a succession plan, and so they started talking to me, and kind of here I'm at. I got involved as a consultant, sort of learning the business in early 2020. Um, and then unfortunately, my father got COVID in 2021 and passed away from that. And so that sort of accelerated the whole process of me stepping in as CEO in 2022. So I've been in this role coming up on 3 years, and sort of a meandering path. Wasn't looking for this really, but it's a great opportunity. Obviously, again, our mission. I'm proud of what we do. We got great people, and it's just I wake up every day being grateful for what we can do.
So my Uncle Rich was Uncle Jeff. So I know exactly what you're talking about, having that kind of relationship.
Yeah.
But he's Uncle Jeff, that's just who he is.
Everybody's got that. Yes. Yeah, we've got that in our family now here too. So it's, yeah.
A great deal of leadership responsibility in that journey. So coming from and through that, have you developed like a philosophy of leadership, a set of working disciplines, or an overarching philosophy?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Stone. I think just having a military background, the way I've always approached a leadership philosophy is just mission first, team always. That sort of mentality right there, and meaning keep the mission front and foremost, but obviously understand that there's a balance, and so you can't get your job done without having good people in the right seats, in the right place, doing the right things. And so, fortunately, when I stepped into the company 3 years ago, we had a lot of the people in the right seats, and we've got a great operation going here. And so I've always tried to lead that way, just making sure. And I think I said this earlier on, like I'm like on repeat mode sometimes. I'll talk about the mission and just keep trying to weave that into any type of story I've got on whether it's staff meetings or talking to our team, just how it relates to what we're doing, our mission of serving veterans and providing high quality, affordable prescription eyewear to them each and every day.
So at this point in your career, what are you finding the most rewarding? What's the most fun about it for you these days?
That's a great, it's, there's a lot really. I think, like I mentioned, we help veterans see, like, I'm a veteran myself. We get thousands of compliments from veterans that we've served, and just talked about how the great things that we're doing for them each and every day. And I'll read that feedback from all our VAs that we're working in. The challenge of like, how can we kind of get better and better each day? We're constantly challenging our team to not be complacent. We're making changes within our team to just improve around the edges and just try to get better and better. And so it's just completely rewarding in those areas. And then just being around our team itself, like we continue to, as I mentioned, just enhance our team and get better and better. We've created some new director roles within our operation this year, and it's just exciting to see some of this talent, take the next step and help PDS keep delivering on our mission.
Well, I'd like to dive into this mission and values thing a little bit. And this is being a little bit selfish because I think this is going to help me personally. Yeah. And look, gang, if you ever want to get a lot of really great free consulting from bright, dedicated, passionate, proven leaders, get yourself a radio show. It's a great way to get some help. But I'll confess to you, Sean, I'm a pretty creative guy. So like I can come up with I can craft, a good written representation of our mission and values, and I can make it look sexy on the walls and all that. But when it comes to tactical execution, like what do I do on a Tuesday morning to live into this mission and espouse these values. What have you learned on that front? Is there some discipline, some rigor, some structure to that you employ?
We just, as I mentioned, we'll try to talk about it. We'll just keep it front and center, with our team there, remind our team. So we're in the manufacturing. So part of our role is manufacturing. So we're making the eyeglasses and just making sure our leaders are telling our people that are putting together those eyeglasses, hey, that's going for a veteran there. Like that's going to help them see better. Like just reminding them of the why of what we're doing. And then also another part of our job is we have opticians working for our company too. So they're the boots on the ground. They're the ones meeting with the veterans, helping them fit those eyeglasses, talking about their needs for eye care, et cetera. And so just again, like making sure that they have that ingrained in their heads of like, it's just not we're just coming, we're just punching in the clock and then getting out. No, it's what we're doing is a noble service for our veterans each and every day. So it's tedious again, like which is why I mentioned I'm always just sort of repeating it over and over the why. But I think it's effective too, especially for me too, because sometimes you can kind of pulled into other areas. But when you recenter yourself back into the why and the mission of what we're doing, it really helps and just sets us on a good path there as a company.
Now, you stepped into, or I'm operating under the impression that you stepped into a successful operation,
Yeah.
serving people, providing opportunity for the folks who get the job done to live with some purpose. But you've really built this thing. Not you alone, but you've been able to help facilitate some pretty serious growth and scale. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, it's so yeah, I definitely stepped into this company with us being a market leader within our operations. But it was also like at a tricky time too, because as I mentioned in 2019, we acquired the labs. And so, we weren't, in my opinion, we weren't fully operating as one. We have a lab in Kentucky, we have a lab in Florida, and they were calling themselves, the Florida Premium Lab, the old name, and the Florida Kentucky lab was calling itself correct. So I was like, no, let's get away from that. We're all PDS, right? So it's PDS Kentucky, PDS Florida, and just really trying to bring us all in as one. And then as I mentioned too, the mission, the core values, just reemphasizing those things. I don't know if we really had a lot of those values in place, and just talking about that with our company. So just those are the little things that I've been trying to do with stepping in. But yes, I've been very fortunate to step into a very successful company there. But again, like we're not complacent. We constantly challenge ourselves. How can we get better and better each and every day? And we've got a great team, as I mentioned, in place. It's not only myself as an owner. We have three other owners that have been within the 60 plus years of optical experience there too. And so very proud of what we could do.
So how does the whole sales and marketing thing work for an organization like yours? It's a different world than, of course, that I'm in, but I got to believe there's still that responsibility and an important part of the organization to go out there, get the work, keep the work. How does all that work in your world?
Yeah, it's a lot of the business that we're doing is the government contracting side, so it's very formal. There's an RFP that's pushed out there, and so we're a veteran-owned business. There's only a couple other companies that can bid on these types of, so they set aside these contracts for companies like myself. And so we'll get in there and we'll try to figure out how we can deliver the best value to the government there. And stepping back from that too, the way they set it up, it's based on VISNs, they'll call it Veterans Integrated Service Networks. And so it's basically a couple of states compiled together there. And it's they look at pricing, they look at service, they look at your past history, and so we try to deliver the best in those kind of three areas there, where we could win the contract there too. And so thankfully, we've been able to do that. And we, again, consistently try to figure out ways where we can be creative to deliver the best value to the government.
Well, what I'm hearing is for all the differences, and surely there are in your world and securing the business in the world that I come from. But I'll tell you what, it sounds like it's true for you guys too. There's just nothing that sells like doing good work.
Yeah,
Right?
no, that's well said, right? Like, so we're in a lot of the hospitals now. I think we're in over 40 states right now, and we're constantly measured on how we're doing. Whether it's
Mm.
customer feedback, turnaround times, and so we do get a lot of good feedback, which is great. And so we use that to help us win future contracts there too. So and it just goes back to kind of what I'm saying. Like, we're not. Uh, yes, we have a lot of the market share now, but we're not complacent. We're constantly trying to figure out ways that we can get better and better and enhance our customer experience and just help veterans and continue to deliver on our mission there.
Well, this won't be any surprise to you, but a hard-learned lesson for me in growing our little business. We were focused so heavily for a little while on metrics that matter, and our whole
Yeah,
media model is different than most people. And then it finally dawned on us, a good way to get a really firm grip on metrics that matter is let your clients tell you the
that's
metrics
great.
that matter.
Oh yeah,
Um,
that's huge right there. So I agree with that 100%. So it's like they tell us like so we're told what the metrics are, but we also try to create some for ourselves too that
yeah.
can help us. And so it's we've you asked before, like, some of the things that I've been trying to implement with stepping into this role, like, KPIs, and we've had some of them, but they're sort of like, not officially formally being measured and internally. Externally, yes, we've always been doing that with the VAs, but we're just trying to push ourselves with KPIs in different areas, and it's been really fun. Like, we're just getting better and better each day. So.
I know the answer to this has to be yes, but I'm going to ask anyway. Have you had the benefit of one or more mentors to help you along the way as you navigate this terrain? Everything from making the transition from military life to civilian life to, running a company to scaling a company. Have you had some mentors that have helped you along the way?
Absolutely. Oh yeah. You can't do this on your own. Like, again, like, full transparency. I stepped into to being a CEO 3 years ago, and it's like, all right, like, how am I going to be a CEO? And so I would reach out to other folks that are running companies and try to, pick their brains and, constantly try to read and improve myself there. So you have to have a strong network of people there that you can rely on. And actually, just this year, I've joined something called the YPO, Young Presidents Organization, and I'm excited. I've heard that's been very transformative for a lot of other CEOs out there, and so I'm excited for that opportunity there too. It's one of those things where you can sort of talk to other CEOs and try to pick their brains on challenges that they're dealing with, and learn. It's just a collaborative environment there. So to answer your question, yes, mentorships, mentors. I'd like to give back to myself when I can, and helping others too. So.
Well, let me ask you about that. Passions, pursuits, interests outside the scope of the work that we're talking about. A lot of my listeners know that I like to hunt, fish, and travel, and that I have some causes that are related to enjoying the outdoors that I like to participate in. Anything you nerd out about outside the direct scope of this work?
I'm both pretty invested in the company, obviously, but yes, you have to find that work-life balance. As I mentioned too earlier, I've got four young girls, so
Mm.
they're ages 10, 8, 6, and 4, and so they definitely keep my wife and I pretty busy with soccer or boxing or birthday parties running around. So it's great though, with our young kids and our busy life. And me personally, I work out. I think that's a good thing for me to do and just sort of rebalance yourself there. And I try to work out with friends too. I think that's good. Just combining the two. I do boxing with some friends, and in the summer I'll try to get out and golf too. And you wouldn't tell by my scores, but I've been trying to get out there and play. So
Four
yeah,
girls and a CEO. I think you ought to write a book about time management, man. That's
yeah,
impressive.
I agree. It's good though. You never know what's going to happen in our house. This morning I was up early trying to get a workout in before our talk here, and I came down and my 4-year-old was watching TV on the couch. I'm like, "What are you doing? It's 5 a.m." So I don't know how long she was up there doing that, but it's definitely they definitely keep you on your toes, which is fun though.
So I am not a veteran. I've had an opportunity to visit with a lot of veteran entrepreneurs. We're trying to build out a program actually to get some of those folks involved with our expansion with Business RadioX. But help me understand, and I'm sure there's a segment of our listenership that maybe have not directly served. I got to believe that there are some unique challenges for veterans as they enter civilian life and as many want to become entrepreneurs or leaders. Can you speak to that a little bit and just help me get a little better feel for the challenges they face, because I want to figure out how to help, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners do as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good question, Stone. It's hard because speaking from being a veteran, obviously, like I ended up going into the corporate world there for when I first got out, but it's sort of daunting. Like when you're in the military, this is kind of all you know, and it's an incredible organization, esprit de corps. And then and I've got friends that are just making or have just made the transition from 20-year careers plus out this year, and it's like I was just trying to tell them like, hey, you guys are invaluable to any organization, so it's just sometimes like not having that confidence, just because you don't know what's out there really. And again, I was, as I mentioned, like telling some of my friends that just got out after long 20 plus careers, be confident because you can come into any organization and instantly help, or the things that you've done in the done and seen in the military, you could create your own business here too. So again, like I didn't know that I'd be where I am today. I was perfectly happy where I was prior, but owning and running your own operation is tremendous there too. And something I'll just share too is I was a part of a group called Bunker Labs. I think they changed the name to Institute for Veterans and Military Families. But it's a CEO circle cohort group that you get connected in with for a year, run by JP Morgan. And so that was a great opportunity for me to sort of learn and connect in with some other CEO veterans or spouses of veterans and just learn about their businesses. So there's a lot of resources out there to help with that transition, and that was helpful for me. Just hearing these stories, the culmination was Jamie Dimon, the head of JP Morgan, ended up speaking with us for almost an hour, and that's just tremendous there, and great learning opportunity for me.
So what's next for PDS Optical, man? What's on the horizon next 6-18 months out?
Yeah, we're continue to do what we're doing. Keep at that. Keep the contracts we have. Try to get the ones we don't have. We're also trying to get into some other areas there too. Some like supporting communities. And so what we try to do is if we can give back financially or time wise, it's to support other veteran initiatives that goes along with our mission and our values as a company. And something exciting that we're going to be a part of. We got selected to be it's called the Lone Eagle National Sponsorship for the Honor Flight organization. And so our PDS is underwriting the trip for 25 veterans. We did something within our our company to see if anybody can get some other veterans that they want to send out to this. And then we're going to push this out nationally though too. So that's going to be in April. We're really excited about that. Affording 25 veterans the opportunity to go to DC for honor flight. And we're just continuing to look to do other things like that too. We did a fun, I call it, I like to work out. So it was a fun run in November called the Gratitude Run 5K to support veteran initiatives and veteran awareness there too, which was pretty cool. So just more and more things like that as a company. And we take the feedback from our people. We've surveyed our team to see like what types of veteran organizations they want us to support. And we're listening to them. And so we're looking to continue to do more and more of those types of events there to support communities that we serve.
What a marvelous opportunity to have your people rally around a specific initiative like that. I'll call that a pro tip, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
it's interesting, and I personally have just come to believe that's the way the universe is wired. But if you can lay your stuff down and go help work on somebody else's problem or cause. I don't know. There's a great deal of emotional compensation, but it also somehow you get served in the end as well, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. It's great. Again, I think I've said the word mission probably 50 times on this call here today, but I'm serious about what we do, and it just sort of centers us around what we're doing, and like veterans are at the foremost of what we do. So.
Well, speaking of pro tips, before we wrap, I would love to leave our listeners with a couple of pro tips, and it could be around anything that we've talked about. But you've been there, you've had the experience. I'm sure it wasn't all butterflies and unicorns. You probably have some scar tissue, but I don't know, a couple of lessons learned or a couple of things for our people to be just thinking about as they aspire to lead and or build their own thing.
Yeah, I think I love that question. I'll give you two here. I'm a big Marcus Aurelius and Stoic, big reader in there. And one of the big things for meditations is control what you can control. So like that's a good way to operate, not only in business, but on the personal side as well too. So, if there's something that happens to you, try to ask yourself, can I control that? All right, no. And it's a good way to operate there and just sort of helps you spend the time and energy in the right places there too. So that's one I'll share. And then the second is probably pretty basic, and I've kind of hit on it here too. Is just I'm fortunate we've got a great team in place, and just make sure you surround yourself with good people on the business front, and it makes your job tremendously easier. Like we've as I mentioned, we've kind of been changing things around a little bit within our company and adding some more positions in, and it's just been great to help there, and just surrounding yourself with the right people. And that goes too on the personal front as well, whether it's friends and support systems there too, and it's just having the right people around is good for you.
I'm so glad I asked. I think that's marvelous counsel. Yeah. All right, what's the best way for our listeners to learn more, connect, tap into your work, whatever you think is appropriate, website, LinkedIn, but let's make sure we give them some coordinates.
Yeah, absolutely. So our website's www.pdsoptical.com. For myself, Sean Lucen, you can find me on LinkedIn. I do check that. And so those are two great ways to connect in with the company and myself. And I'd be happy to, talk to anybody that reaches out to me on LinkedIn there. Okay.
Well, Sean, I have thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. It was invigorating, inspiring. Thank you for your insight, and thank you for what you're doing. You're impacting so many in such a deep and profound way, and we sure appreciate you, man.
Thank you so much, Stone. I appreciate the opportunity, and it's been a pleasure.
Well, the pleasure is all mine. All right, until next time, this is Stone Payton for our guest today, Sean Lucen with PDS Optical, and everyone here at the Business RadioX family saying we'll see you in the fast lane.